Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. Just wanted to remind you we are live streaming this. So just everybody remembers that we are live when this goes on. And yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay, good evening and welcome. Tonight is a special night in many ways because for the first time ever, our Fox C6 District PTO presidents and other parent representatives from each of our 18 buildings have organized and come together as a united group to learn more about and share via stream those community members that are running for our Board of Education in the April 6th election. In order to have the voice of each individual school represented in tonight's Q&A portion, each school PTO president was asked to work with their school PTO representatives and come up with 3 questions to submit for possible use during this evening. Each question submitted was then looked over for new content since the candidates have already answered many questions from the local paper and teachers' unions. The remaining questions were then comprised into one of 5 questions that will be asked this evening to each of our candidates. So the Fox C6 President's Club, for those watching via stream, is a group of knowledgeable, passionate parents who are dedicated to utilizing our voices towards positive growth, progression, and unity in our district and our community. And to the candidates tonight, thank you for attending and sharing your platforms with us. And I'm going to go over some of the rules right now. Okay. You will be given 2 minutes to introduce yourself and tell us your platform. After everyone has taken their turns introducing themselves, which we'll start with Ms. Hanson over here, and then we'll go around until we get to Mr. Shalou. Afterwards, then Rachel here, she's the moderator. She will ask a question of each candidate, and each candidate will have an opportunity to respond in turn, and you will have 1 minute to answer each question. So we will start the first question with Ms. Hanson and go around, and then the second question will start with Mr. Osha and go around, and so on. At the end of our evening, you will be given 2 minutes for a closing statement. Then at the conclusion, we will invite you to meet with the PTO members and community members that we have here in attendance and answer any questions that they may have regarding your candidacy. So the ground rules for tonight are: this is not a debate, it's a forum, and please share your views in a concise and positive way. Please be respectful of time limits. You will hear a warning when you have 10 seconds left. And each candidate will be given the opportunity to respond to each question before moving on to the next question. And as always, please be respectful of each candidate's viewpoints. So with that, I'm going to let Rachel take it away.
Okay, so we're going to start with your introductions. So Ms. Hanson, you can start with your introduction. You'll have 2 minutes for your introduction.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to run for the school board again. During my tenure on the board, I've worked hard to try to ensure fiscal responsibility by decreasing expenditures and increasing revenues when we can. I've supported expansion in curriculum and technology, working to help all students be successful by providing a balance of career, college, and work readiness programs. And I think that's really important, that we need to continue to do that. Students need to be at the center of all decisions with data to help us determine what is needed. By providing support for all staff, we can work together to make this happen. That's essential. Due to the pandemic, this has been a year of extraordinary challenges. As we've navigated through all this and the issues associated with it, I've supported decisions made by the administration, asking questions to clarify the impact on students and staff. And oftentimes at board meetings, the purpose, I usually make sure that I've already asked the question prior to the meeting, but I feel like it's important that the community probably has those same questions I've had, and so I'll ask the questions publicly so that everyone is aware, has the same information. I am committed to continuing this approach. In order to make decisions, it's imperative that everybody has all of the information available, both to the school board and the community. I want to assure everybody that I will use my experience and my education to move the district forward. I keep an open mind and an open heart in order to be fair and impartial. My background includes teaching kindergarten, 4th grade, and special ed, being a special ed administrator, and an educational consultant after my retirement in 2008.
10 seconds.
And that's been a learning experience for me. I want to have my goal is to prepare the students for success in an environment that's supportive of them,
Time.
the staff, parents, and the community. Okay.
Alrighty. Well, good evening, and thank you to Stacy and to Rachel for putting this together, and to you, to PTO, for being willing to do this for us. Also, congratulations to all the Masterpiece Award winners. I'm not going to mention any names. I don't have a list in front of me, and I don't want to single anybody out or forget anybody, but congratulations again. And also for you guys watching online at home or however you're streaming, thanks for tuning in to hear us. My name is, of course, Jim Osha. I'm 46. I'm currently been 4 years at True Manufacturing. I've been in manufacturing since 1998. It's actually a pretty fun thing to do if you get into certain positions. I graduated from Roosevelt, so I'm not a native son, but I am married to a Fox graduate and have been for going on 16 years this August. My daughter is a 7th grader at Seckman Middle. Some things I've done in the community. I'm on the University of Missouri Extension Council here in Jefferson County. I'm starting my 2nd term there. It's broadened my horizons. I thought I knew a lot of about Jefferson County, pretty much growing up here about half my life, and found out there's a lot I didn't know. I'm also Brandon's backpack volunteer. Excited to do that, even though unfortunately it's needed, but I'm glad to do it. Also been a part of Watchdogs, which is Dads of Grade Students, which I mainly did in the elementary level now that my daughter's in middle school. I've also been on the Simpson PTO and now currently on the Seckman Middle PTO. My platform is pretty much financial responsibility, as most of you have heard, not only at
10
board
seconds.
meetings, but we need to make sure we figure out how we can shore up stuff and be ready for changes if needed.
Time.
Try again. Good evening. My name is Shannon Ponzer, and I'm excited to be running for the Fox C6 School Board on the April 6th ballot. I'm a proud mother of 3 children who all attend or have attended the Fox C6 School District. In addition, I'm a wife of a physical education teacher in the Fox District. I'm passionate about education and child development. For the past 11 years, I have worked as a school director at a learning center within the Fox District. I am truly passionate about education and want our children to have the best there is to offer. I am committed to making a difference and want nothing more than to see our children grow and have a quality education. Our children's education must come first. The education should be one that fits all academic levels for our children in the district. I want our children to thrive both academically, mentally, and socially. I want to keep government outside of the classroom and allow our teachers the freedom to teach our children. I strive to give our teachers in the district the support they need and to be allowed the freedom to help every student that comes in their classroom. Parents and community involvement in our school district helps our district to be successful and holds our school board accountable. Parents are our students' first teachers. By listening to them and our community members, it allows them to have a voice. Their concerns should always be considered. When we make it a point to educate them on what is happening in the schools and what goals we are working towards, it leads to more support and a successful school district. Probably less than 5 minutes, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Rick Lamborn, and it's great to see this room almost full tonight. So that means we got a lot of people that do, in fact, care about their quality education and their kids, and that's very important to have parent support. I'm a father of 4, one of whom is a special education teacher in a nearby district, grandfather of 5. Been in this Fox district for 7 years, so I'm kind of new to the district, but I've been in Jefferson County for over 20 years, so just neighboring school districts. I'm not an educator, but I have a diverse background. I currently, for the last 23 years, I've been the distribution manager for Joyce Meyer Ministries. Prior to that, I owned my own business in the real estate business. So I have more of a business and financial background that I'd like to bring to the board and bring to the community. My platform is the leader who listens, because it really doesn't matter what I think is best for the kids, and this, it's really what you think for the teachers and the kids and the parents. I want to know what you think and glean from you guys, because you're the ones that really matter. The kids, it's what matters for the kids, but we got to hear from you, and that's my platform, basically, the leader who listens. I want to hear from you. I will answer my emails within 24 hours or hopefully sooner than that, and truly care about what you do and really invite your participation in the Board of Education.
Mr. Lintner.
Good evening. Thank you very much for organizing this event. This has been an incredible educational experience running for the school board. One of the things I've learned is that I'm a huge fan of organizations such as yours. The PTO groups for the individual schools have an immense impact on those schools. You guys pick up the mantle where the rest of the district falls short, as far as financing and making sure that our kids have the resources they need. So personally, thank you for that. My name is Travis Littner. I'm 37 years old, actually today. Been a lifelong member of this community, having graduated from Fox High School in 2002. My education pursued with an associate's degree in computer-aided drafting and design from ITT Tech. I've been with a company, G Lighting, which is a commercial lighting manufacturer, for approximately 15 years now. I'm actually moving into the quoting department. I'm happily married to my lovely wife, Melissa. We have 2 children in the district, 6 and 13. My platform is one formed on the basics, and I've said it before, there's a theme of B's, with the focus being on the buildings, books, and bodies. The buildings need to be maintained and taken care of. We need to be smart and budgeting for that. I miss textbooks being in classrooms. I know a lot of things are technology driven. I'm not against technology, but when we're taking a look at our finances and trying to budget for a district such as ours, I also don't think it needs to be in every single corner of the classrooms. And bodies, I would love to see our children back in school. I know we're working on that process now, but I also know that there's an online option presented for next year.
10
and
seconds.
I look forward to getting back to normal. Not a new normal, just normal.
Ms. Meckel.
Good evening, PTO parents and everyone tuning in. Thank you for having us here this evening. My name is April Meckel, and I too am a parent of this district and have been for the last 16 years. And the youngest of my 4 is in 3rd grade, so I have some time left, and like you, I am invested. Thank you, PTO, for promoting the community, relationships, and fun through events that you pour into, and in return, you make it possible for schools and teachers to afford things. You are the true voice for the parents. My platform is to represent you as the voice for the parents. Being a parent, there have been a few repetitive things that I have heard you want. You want consistency, building improvements, more community engagement, better communication, trust, transparency, continuity, and to feel that your voices matter. Knowing and understanding these things like you, I would help create a more diverse Board of Education. I want to see Prop P money spent on what the community told it was passed for. I'd like to see the Finance Committee move forward with the financial spending plan as they work with the board, CFO, and the superintendent to set Fox up for future success and student progression. Educating the public on how the budget operates helps us to see where we are as a district and where we're headed. This creates less surprises and helps us all to rally together and get behind hard decisions and solutions. Believing in transparency and actually having transparency are 2 different things. The Fox District is the largest school district in Jefferson County with an average of 12,000 students. Being that large, families move within the school district on a regular basis, and therefore, parents and teachers want more continuity for our students in schools. You should be able to pull one kid out of one school and put them in the other without losing anything, without them being ahead or behind. Each child has a right to an equity education, clubs, sports,
10 seconds.
and extracurricular activities. These are the things I feel passionately about and strong, and that is why I'm running for the board.
Mr. Shalhoub?
My name is Jim Shalhoub, and I've been actually an active parent with kids in schools for almost 32 consecutive years because I've helped raise some of my grandchildren. And I've learned something during those 32 years. I've learned this, that the more our kids learn, the more opportunities they're going to have. And so the most important thing we can do is helping them develop as many skills as they possibly can. So I'm going to talk about you tonight a little bit. If you've looked at my platform, I have one platform that says support volunteers in their efforts to provide enrichment opportunities for our kids. Now, I can tell a little bit about myself. Back in first grade, when we came out to this community, we had very little for kids to do. My father helped organize the Arnold Corey League, which is now the Arnold Athletic Association. That was done with volunteers. We didn't have water in this community. My father was very involved in developing the water district, that water tower. He had some part in getting. That was done. That district was done with volunteers. Our fire department, it was done with volunteers. When I became a building principal, I had my first opportunity to work with a parent club. The things that we were able to do relative to enriching our students with our parents were amazing. We actually had our parents help raise the money to where we could have Norman Bridwell, the author of the Clifford books, come to our school. Our parent
10
club made a
seconds.
doghouse out of one of the rooms, and then Norman literally had each grade level go in and do a chapter or a few pages of a book that
Time.
he wrote. It's a great story. If you want to hear the rest of it later, I'd be happy to tell you. Bottom line, volunteers care about one thing.
Okay, we're going to go through and start the questions now. And just as a reminder, you have 1 minute to answer each question. And we're going to start with Ms. Vicki Hansen.
Okay, question number 1. What is your vision for our district's future? How do you plan to see it come to fruition in the next 3 years of your term if elected to our BOE?
Okay. My vision is for the superintendent, the board, and the community, everyone to work together in moving forward in a good, orderly direction. I want to make sure we improve climate with all the stakeholders so that we ensure everyone has a voice. That means we have to respect and accept each other's differences and know that it's okay to have different opinions. And through that process, we will work together to improve achievement, finances, and look at what we need in facilities and develop plans for those. You have to assess and then you have to plan. And basically unite
10
around
seconds.
those issues instead of dividing around them.
Mr. Osha?
Well, hopefully in the next 6 months to a year, we're better financially. Way to do that is to find where we can spend better, make adjustments, and hopefully we don't have to make cuts like they had to do up in Francis Howell. Hopefully that's a last resort. Also to get almost everybody involved, not just the PTOs or just a few volunteers here or there that I've seen over the years, and maybe to have town halls, because at board meetings you only get 3 minutes to speak, and it's only on what's on the agenda. This way here at a town hall, people can have more of a voice. Obviously, we keep it to where there's nobody pointing people out or calling people out like we have rules on the board meeting. Our buildings definitely should be in better shape in 3 years, obviously, with Prop P.
10 seconds.
And hopefully we can work a good budget for the maintenance people to continually maintaining them, because you still got to maintain the new stuff as well as the old stuff.
Time. Ms. Ponzer?
Sometimes I forget I have this on. My vision is to become financially sustainable. The fact that in 3 years we're seeing dire straits is not acceptable. I think we need to have a budget. We need to stick to the budget. We need to use Prop P money for what it's supposed to be used for and put it into our buildings. It might mean we need to cut in places that people don't want to cut, and unfortunately that's just part of having a budget and doing so. But ultimately we need to do what's best for these children, and they need to come first. So we need to financially make it a go and really do what we
10
need
seconds.
to do to make them successful. So.
Mr. Lamborn?
My vision for the district's future would be to really just get back to the basic and focus on providing a quality education to prepare the students for the rest of their lives, whether they choose college, the trade, or just wanting to go to work, just so they can be productive human beings in our society. Here again, would be to get as many people's opinion on how to do that as possible. I mean, we have the building issues. We need to fund those and make the upgrades there. We need to, I would say, you need to evaluate curriculums, keep them consistent, and make sure it is what is working for the students, all the students. And provide unity with the community. Again, just encouraging the community to come out and share their opinions at board meetings.
10 seconds.
And just encourage a parental involvement. I hear that from the teachers a lot, that parents just aren't involved as much as we'd like, as much as you all are. Thank you.
Mr. Lintner?
I would like to see us continue down a path of character and excellence that have become hallmarks of this district. We've got a good history behind us. Somewhere that seemed to have gone awry, and we're facing dire straits with our finances. First and foremost is getting that in check. Hopefully it doesn't make major cuts to staff or, curriculum in certain areas. I don't think any of us wants to see that. So we have to live the epitome of grit, and we have to get creative, and grit is one of the terms that, was synopsis with our district, that we put out there all the time. Sometimes that means making the most of what you have when you don't have much. And I think that we can be a shining example of how to do that.
Ms. Meckel?
So my vision for the district is just to come together and let the students and the teacher be more successful. And there are several ways that we can do that. One, we can have more continuity from school to school, perhaps with stronger pacing guides. We have, community ideas like the Community Connection Hub, where it is getting the community and the schools all involved together. Just being available, being fiscally responsible, making wise decisions that impact the students and the teachers for their success.
Mr. Shalhoub?
One thing that I think is important for us to understand as we talk about our school district is what an exceptional school district we've had. I don't think most people understand this, but we have been for at least 10 years, starting in 2006, when in the top 10% of all performing school districts in the state of Missouri. Some years we were in the top 6%. That's extraordinary, folks, and you can check this out. Go to schooldigger.com and you can see this data completely. My vision is that we try to continue that, because by continuing that, we create opportunities for our kids. And all of you, what's more important to you than anything else is that for your kids to be able to have all the opportunities you can. The more you learn, the more opportunities you have. The less you learn, the fewer opportunities you have. And so focusing on making sure that our
10
kids have a good
seconds.
curriculum.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to question number 2, and the person who will start this off is Mr. Osha. And we'll go around this way, so Ms. Hanson will be our last candidate to answer this question. Question number 2 is, what is your understanding of the role of the superintendent versus the role of the school board? How would you work with our new superintendent through possible disagreements or differences to ensure that what is best for our district and our kids is being addressed?
Well, first and foremost, the superintendent is the one that makes sure the day-to-day operations go by having their staff, whether it's in central office or the principals in the buildings. The board sets policies and guidelines and should only step in absolutely when necessary. To do any to keep the disagreements or differences down, listen to what the superintendent has to say, and of course as the community as well, and listen to what they have to say, bounce ideas off of each other. You know, a group of 7 is better than a group of 1.
Ms. Ponzer?
So the role of the school board is to support the superintendent. Communication is key to work through the disagreements and differences. Sometimes you're going to agree to disagree, but ultimately you have to support our superintendent. The superintendent is to run the district, make sure everything is functioning as it should, and the board is there to help back that. We have to believe in our superintendent. We have to support them. We have to talk to them. We have to just make sure that they feel as part of the community and they support our community as well.
Mr. Lamborn?
Well, I view the school board is like the board of directors for any major corporation, where they provide the oversight, how the dollars are going to be spent, who's going to be controlling the day-to-day operations, and kind of very broad-reaching decisions. And the superintendent is like the CEO or the COO, where they would do the day-to-day operations and take care of just the day-to-day stuff, the issues with personnel issues, student issues with parents, that kind of stuff. To work with the superintendent would be really just required open and honest communication. I mean, communicate, and fully transparent. No hidden agendas. Just we want what's best for everybody involved, and we're going to listen to people. I forgot to mention that I also umpire high school baseball and softball.
10 seconds.
So I haven't thrown out a coach yet, so I won't do any of that in the board meetings either.
Mr. Lintner?
A lot of weight gets placed on the relationship between the board and the superintendent, and I agree it's important, but I would like to see every relationship in the district strengthen. The people on the ground are the ones who really matter in the day-to-day influence that our children, are exposed to and what their education is. Specifically in regards to this question, the paths are pretty clear. The board sets policy. We approve budget. We approve hiring, firing, time off, things of that nature. And it's the superintendent's job to implement that. They're an orator. They're a spokesman, if you will. Their job is implementation. So if their implementation is in line with the concise message that I think it's the board's responsibility to deliver,
10
then
seconds.
there should be no reason for any contention whatsoever, but I think we should focus on other relationships besides just the board and the superintendent. There's more to our district.
Time. Ms. Meckel?
So the role of the board is to approve and implement policy. And the superintendent is to have those connections to the schools. And that's both roles are very important, but they have to work together. They have to have a relationship that is built on trust and communication, but also discussion. Just because you disagree with something doesn't mean that you can't help one another find a solution. I would evaluate the superintendent's decisions and make responsible decisions, and I would ask, is this what's best for the district?
Mr. Shalhoub?
The board should always support the superintendent. And the superintendent should always support the Board of Education too. The board is accountable for 4 things. They're accountable for hiring everyone in the school district. We're accountable for how every penny is spent. We're accountable for every policy, and we're also accountable for approving every curriculum. And so we're using the expertise and the experience of the superintendent and the information we get from them. We have to make all those decisions that we're accountable for. And that's why it's important for us to support the superintendent, and it's also important for the superintendent to support the responsibilities of the Board of Education too.
Okay, it's tough.
Sorry, Ms. Sampson. Got a little
Sometimes
confused
it's
there.
tough going last. Everybody's already said everything. But one of the important things, I think, with the board's role versus the superintendent is the board's role is really governance. And one of the most important things is hiring and evaluating the superintendent. And in that process, you do have to have communication, and you have to set up a system of communication that everybody agrees to. And then you set up principles, sort of like how you're going to run the meeting today, as far as how the governance is going to operate. Policies, expenditures, our hires, but then the other thing that you're elected to do as a board member is represent the community. And so by virtue of being a member of the community, sometimes you have to kind of warn
10
the
seconds.
superintendent about potholes or whatever you want to call them, things that are coming up that could cause problems that they may not be aware of.
Time.
Okay, we're going on to question 3. We'll start with Ms. Ponzar. Question number 3 is, with our district in such a dire financial position, what ideas do you have to immediately address our budget shortfalls without sacrificing the curriculum, technology, and other necessary resources that our kids need to achieve academic success?
So ultimately, the curriculum for our children's learning has to be first and foremost. That definitely should not be cut. However, we have to be able to trust our teachers to teach the curriculum. I don't think it necessarily has to be a expensive curriculum. I think that, old school is the way to go. Lecturing and teaching and showing the children how to learn is first and foremost. Every business has a budget, and if you can't hit budget, then you start cutting where you can. So that may mean cutting, different areas that people are not going to like.
10
but,
seconds.
I think everybody just needs to look at the budget and really cut from, the higher ends without hurting our teachers' salaries.
Time. Mr. Lamborn?
The main thing, I think, when you're looking at a situation like we're in, you need to just kind of put any predetermined thoughts out of your mind and just question everything. Look at every program. Is it working or is it not working? I mean, I took over an area that was having some issues, and we were able to get things straightened out. And for the last 20 years, I've brought it in under budget every year. Now that's because I get to help establish the budget as well, but I also, there's a lot of things that that are out of my control that I'm still able to control. But really question everything, listen to the parents, the teachers. They're the ones that are the students, of course. They're the ones that are in the trenches. They know what's important to them, what's not important to them. And, is it working? Is it not working? If it's not working,
10 seconds.
what was the intention when we really started doing this? And is it, sometimes you're just doing things because that's the way you've always done it. So.
Mr. Lintner?
I'm going to go ahead and take head-on technology, specifically out of this question. As far as specifics I would do to help the budget, and once again readdress this issue because it gets misconstrued that I mean getting rid of technology altogether. That's not the case. There's a reality with technology. It's an awesome tool, but it's an ongoing cost. And it never changes. Technology only advances and gets better, and items get more expensive and have to be renewed, upgraded, and so on and so on. we're not in the days of going to Walmart and buying Adobe off the shelf and then owning that program, you know, and you don't have to go repay for the right to continue to use it. That's where the software companies are moving. You know, they're moving to subscription-based models to where every year the cost is going to increase, and you're going to have to, you know, commit to a contract with them 1 year, 3
10
years, 5
seconds.
years, usually with the discount and certain rates and plans, you know, not to mention the replacement of Chromebooks and everything else. I'll stop there.
Ms. Meckel?
Well, the question says, without sacrificing from curriculum. Well, it seems to me that we are slowly stripping away our curriculum. Just with some things that I've seen and observed. And what we need to do, I feel, is to find these resources we need to go and ask the teachers, hey, what's working? What do you think? And then get rid of the fluff and maybe implement some really things that we're really good at and streamline the professional development so we're not just okay at a bunch of things.
Mr. Shalhoub?
Okay, I'm going to take issue with one thing. It says our dire financial position. The truth is, folks, our school district has never had to borrow money to make payroll. You know, there are some districts, as a matter of course, every year have to get tax anticipation bonds to get through to the end of the school year. We've never had to do that. We've always been pretty responsible. We always want to do this, though. We always want to be efficient and effective with the use of our resources. If it's not helping kids learn, then it doesn't need to be in the budget. It's just that simple. There's a lot of things that have developed and grown over the years that probably we should be able to look at and trim back and still make sure our kids are having a good, successful learning experience.
Ms. Hanson?
Well, I think all of those things need to be evaluated in terms of the budget. You work with the superintendent, the administration, and the staff to figure out what's essential. And in terms of, I hate the idea of people thinking that all these cuts need to be made, especially with staffing, because what you need to do, the easier way to do that and the less painful way is as people retire or resign, you look at, do we really need to replace that position? That's not pleasant either, but that's easier than telling somebody they don't have a job. And you want to make sure the focus stays on the resources for the buildings, because that is where instruction happens. And everybody believes that their job is the most important job in the district, and that's
10 seconds.
they're valued, and that's an important thing. But we need to not just look at jobs, but other things as well that affect the budget.
Mr. Osha?
Well, one of the things I would recommend, and this isn't an indictment or anything, and I know we know the history of this district when I bring this word up, but have an outside firm, maybe like the state, come in and do an audit. It's never wrong to have an outside set of eyes look at something. You may be looking at something at your house and not see something. Your neighbor comes over and says, hey, you know, at least that way there we get an objective view. That way there, if there's any trimming anywhere, hopefully not staff at first, but in any of these, they can help guide, or we can see, okay, hey, you know, we've been spending here, but we can cut back. So, and like I said, with the audit, it could help us, you know, minimize the impact of making cuts. Maybe we can shift money around from one fund to another, and or
10 seconds.
you know, like she said, you know, with attrition, you know, that's one of the better ways than that tells somebody, hey, you don't have a job. I wouldn't want to be
Time.
that person.
Okay, we're going to move on to question 4. We're going to start with Mr. Lamborn. Question 4's question is, standardized tests have given skewed, inaccurate results to a district's academic success due to changes of scoring and questions and topics over the last 5 years. What are some other ways that our Board of Education can ensure that our teachers and students are achieving at a high level and that our district goals are being accomplished?
All right, well, I'd like to say that I am definitely not a fan of standardized tests being the indicator of how something is working or how something is not working. What you have to do is look at the product you're turning out. You're turning out young people to the world, whether it's the college world, the work world, or whatever. How are they doing? Are they doing well in college, or are they not? Are the people that are going into the trades, are they doing well, or they are not? So maybe we need to look at the goals. I don't have all the answers for this one, but I'd like to just listen to what you all have to say as opinions, and that's what really matters. One of the other things I think that could be, added to things. My wife actually works with, or she did work with high-risk people, trafficking victims, and things like that. And they were, she was teaching them life skills. And you think
10
life skills is
seconds.
something everybody knows, but they don't. Excellence, integrity, accountability, conflict resolution, things like that aren't things that people just get.
Mr. Lintner?
Sometimes it'd be nice if the government just got out of the way and would let our teachers teach. Standardized tests have been an arguable issue since I was in school. I remember hearing my teachers complain about it, and having to teach for the test. It's unnecessary evil or necessary evil, however you want to look at it, because it is hard to measure success otherwise or tell how a district's doing. While the kids are in school, I think one of the other things that we can look at, there are correlating factors that go with how well a student is doing. One is attendance. People are attending school more often, they tend to be doing better than students who aren't, so that's something that's a hard number you could look at to kind of judge the success of your district. And kind of like an exit interview when leaving a job, I do think it's important that we follow up what happens with these students, whether that's upon a committee or something.
10
but yeah,
seconds.
what are their plans after high school? What do they do with the next couple of years of their life? That's the only really true indicating factor of success that I think we can go off of.
Ms. Meckel?
So no one likes standardized tests. Teachers don't like them, students don't like them, and parents, do we really care? Because the MAP test in particular doesn't affect our children personally like the ACT does. So I can understand why we do not like that test specifically. But how are we going to achieve at a higher level without the standardized test? The revision of the CSIP is coming up. We can identify problems there, and then we can hire quality. We have tons of quality teachers and tons of quality administrators, but we can continue to do that, and then we can give them the professional development that they need to implement those things that need to be really focused on to help our children,
10
bridge the
seconds.
gap from this year and to continue with their higher education.
Mr. Shalhoub?
Standardized tests are a reality. It's something that we're going to be, whether they go to apply for the military, they're going to be taking some kind of a standardized test. What's important is to know how to analyze and how to interpret test results. Now, you say here that they have been inaccurate and skewed because of changes in the test. Yeah, there's changes in the test almost on an annual basis. There's adjustments. But if you compare how you're doing relative to the broader population, then you can determine if your kids are making gains or if they're going down. Even though everything might be going down, if you're going down a lot faster than just what the test caused, then you got a problem. And we've had a problem with that over the last couple of years, especially at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level. One that I think is alarming, and it
10
is worth
seconds.
really analyzing carefully.
Ms. Hanson?
Okay, the thing that is important about the standardized test is they are necessary in order for the district to get fully accredited. And people need to accept that that's the only measure that every single public school district in the state takes that's the same. And the important thing, yes, they do change. I can remember when we took the MMAT. I can remember when special ed kids didn't take the achievement tests. And now they do, because it's important that they learn too. And so it's one thing to, when there's a major change in the test, you can expect a dip, but when that trend continues over a period of time, then you really have to look at it, and you have to analyze where it's happening, why it's happening. You have to look at the cohort groups, meaning the kids from each grade level, what's happening, where they're dipping and
10
why.
seconds.
And then you have to make a plan to address that. So it's part of what we do at schools.
Mr. OSHA?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them being used in the manner that they are. I understand why they are used. I think maybe as school districts maybe need to get together and go to DESE and or to the federal level and say, hey, we need to actually do this at the local level and not tie money and or accreditation just to the standardized test. So that way there, because not every kid learns the same, and it's unfortunate that our special needs kids get lumped in with ours. I think that needs to be separated because they don't learn the same way as all of us do, or all of us out here don't learn the same way, each person. But as far as a benchmark, I like the idea that we see where we're at, but as far as using it as a final,
10 seconds.
I think we need to come together and talk to our state legislatures and to DESE and even at the federal level and tell them, hey, we need to do this different.
Time. Ms. Ponzer?
Unfortunately, standardized tests are not going to go away. We don't really have a say in that. I think we have a say in letting teachers teach. Let them do their thing. We have to trust them. Instead of just teaching the test, teach the information in a fun, exciting way. And we've got some awesome teachers in the district. I've talked to a lot of them. Trust them. Every child learns differently. Let them have some freedom to do what they need to do to teach these children. I was never a good test taker. I would have bombed every standardized test. But you speak to me and I would know the information. So ultimately, I think we just need to find new ideas and new ways
10
for
seconds.
these children to take a test. There's just different plans that we can do to help them.
Okay, our fifth and final question. We'll start with Mr. Littner. What improvements and programs would you like to see implemented to address the social well-being and mental health of our kids starting in the fall of 2021 school year and years to come?
I like that first and foremost is in-person learning. People need human interaction, social interaction for their mental well-being. I've heard horrific horror stories of, attempted suicides and things of that nature throughout our district, during this pandemic. It's downright cruel what we're doing at this point. Beyond that, and this is a pipe dream probably, but it would be awesome to see the district promote a policy of put it down. Because a lot of it starts right here. We have to start asking what is happening to our kids. It's not necessarily because of our schools. A lot of it's because of the home life or because of the habits we've all, adorned over the recent years. A lot of it starts with social media, too much screen time. We have to start asking why, looking in the timeline and the scope of things, why all of this
10 seconds.
why all the mental health issues are present. Why do we need so many more counselors now than we used to? Those aren't problems that the district themselves can solve. That's a home issue.
Time.
That's more accountability on the parents.
Ms. Meckel?
Well, there's no doubt that the social, emotional, and mental well-being of our children have suffered this past year. And, we have a lot of great counselors that are working overtime to reach out to our children, but there's still a gap, and I don't have that answer. So that's where you guys come in. You guys are gonna have to get together and talk to us and tell us what you need, what your kids need, because you know your kids better than us. And so you see them on a regular basis. We're gonna need the information from you and then see what we can do to go forward with that.
Mr. Shalhoub?
What's happened with this COVID has been incredible, and trying to move forward, I think the most important thing is to figure out where our kids are suffering and literally target those particular areas. I worry about the achievement of our kids coming through the elementary programs for sure. I think we need to do an intensive care type approach to identifying those kids that have fallen behind and do something to help them, because with confidence, that builds their emotional health too. And at the high school level, I really believe that we need to do the same thing and also look at making sure that the GPAs that they had because of lower grades do not impact them for the rest of their schooling career. And I think it should be literally an intensive care kind of approach where we really target the kids that need help, get it, and the kids that don't. Some kids have flourished through this, believe it or not.
Ms. Hanson?
Well, we've got some things going on that are good, that have systems that have been in place, but we need to look at more ways to do that. And again, the pandemic has really affected that, but we need to keep moving forward. And some of that would involve researching what's available and then sharing that with each other and coming up with a plan. I worked on the safety task force with in the community with mayor, council, and their group of people, and I was on the subcommittee related to behavior and social emotional health. And we were looking into a program that a school district had done called Be the One. It was about relationships with kids, and each teacher identifying one kid that was at risk socially, emotionally, and that there's a person that did that in another district in the state, and she will come and share that information.
10
So
seconds.
those kinds of things can be looked at and expanded on. That's just one idea.
Mr. Osha?
Yeah, we're in unprecedented times, and in the normal times, you know, our kids' mental and social well-beings are affected by a lot of things. I mean, to do that now, you know, is going to take resources that we're going to have to accept. Just take a step back and evaluate. Talk to the kids. You know, have an open ear instead of talking to them as a parent. Just talk to them as a friend. Let them bend your ear and find out where they are. As we see that some kids have flourished, some kids are just getting along, and some kids are falling behind. You know, there is no one-size-fits-all answer to this other than just to be there for them.
Ms. Ponser?
So this is a top priority for me. We serviced 8 school districts during hybrid learning, and what I saw from these children and the meltdowns and the breakdowns that they had, it broke my heart. It really did. I think the district needs to make it a priority. The district did a parent and student summit, but it only went till March 19th. And I took advantage of that. And, you know, having a child, and she's going to kill me forever saying this out loud, I'm watching my own daughter struggle, and it is heartbreaking. I can't help her, and I can help everybody else's children, but I can't help mine. So I reached out. You have to reach out to the district
10
and
seconds.
find that help. Those counselors have to do their part. We have ComTree that comes into the school district. I don't know if anybody knows that, but
Time.
take advantage of it. It's worth it.
Mr. Lamporn?
All right, yeah, well, yes, definitely agree that this was an interesting past year. And, you know, it would have been difficult being on the board, you know, what are you making the right decisions at that time? Given the scientific evidence was coming out, was all over the place, you know, does it affect people? Does it, you know, kill young people? So they did what they had to do, but I'm definitely in favor of trying to get the kids back in school and keep them in school, as you know, because in-person learning is the way to go. And also something that I've seen through this last year is that, or heard stories about, someone goes out and, you know, a student is struggling big time, nobody says anything. And then they do something terrible, and then, oh, you know, I saw something on Facebook that, you know, was a clue. They didn't say anything.
10 seconds.
To encourage the students, if they see something from somebody doing something like that, say something and let them know there's counselors that will listen to your complaints, and then they can just follow up with that
Time.
hurting student.
Okay, now we're going to go through, and everyone's going to give their 2-minute closing. We're going to start with Ms. Meckel. And you can start now.
Thank you again for having us this evening and being an informed member of the school district and the community. I don't believe I have all the answers. However, I am willing to listen and educate myself on what is right and true. I am aware that there are hard decisions to make for the future of this district. However, hard decisions go over better with transparency, explanations, and a communicated path forward. This helps create the trust that we as a community and district need to help our students get the best education Fox can provide. When a child feels comfortable with their parents, they come to them with their ideas, needs, and wishes. And the same rings true with the community and the Board of Education. When we feel as though our voices want to be heard and valued, we get involved. We volunteer and we promote. And should you have questions for me, you can reach out to me at voteaprilandapryl@gmail.com. You can follow my Facebook page for more of my platform, April Meckel for Fox C6 Board. And I humbly yet boldly ask for your vote to vote April on April 6th.
Mr. Shalhoub?
I'm going to finish up again about talking about you and the role that you have in our school district. The volunteer work that you do is essential to helping our students have success with learning. It's essential for our in order to create climates in the school district that are good for our kids, that motivates them to learn. The kind of work that you do is essential in that you're involved in your kids' in your kids' education. And I want to just say how much I appreciate and have always appreciated the work of volunteers. And here's why: because volunteers do their work. They're never worried about building their own resume. They're only worried about building the resume of the people that they're serving. And in that regard, I appreciate your efforts and always have and always will. Thank you.
Ms. Hanson?
Okay. I'm going to ask everybody to support me in the election. I hope that you know me by what I do. But I'm going to do something a little different. There's something from a reading I had a long time ago about geese. You know, geese fly in formation, and there's a reason they do that. When they fly in a V, the whole flock has more flying range, a lot more than if they were on their own. So this is my vision for the district. Basic truth one: those who share a common direction and a sense of community can go where they are going more quickly and easily because they travel on the thrust of one another's effort. Whenever a goose falls out of formation, it feels drags and air resistance from trying to go it alone. It quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird in front of it. Basic truth two: if we have as much sense as a goose, we will stay in formation with those who are headed the same way we are. When the lead goose gets tired, it rotates back to the wing and another goose flies point. Basic truth three: it pays to take turns on hard jobs for people as well as for southbound geese. The geese honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep their speed. Basic truth four: we need to be careful of what we say when we honk from behind. Finally, when a goose gets sick or wounded and falls out, two geese fall out of formation and follow it down to help and provide protection. They stay with it until it's either able to fly or it's dead. And then they set out to catch up with their flock, flying on their own or with another group. The final truth is, if we have the sense of a goose, we will always stand by one another. And really, I think that's something in all my years of working for the
10
district,
seconds.
in the 22 years I've been here, this community has stood by each other when things have happened, when there's been calamities in the environment, whatever the case
Time.
may be. We've stood together when we needed each other and done the right thing. Thank you.
Mr. Osha?
Well, where do I start? As most of you know, I've stood at that podium for 7 years bringing the good, the bad, and the ugly of the district. I do think our district is in better shape than it was 7 years ago when I first stepped to that podium. I think we could be better. I think with my integrity, with my honesty and my openness and willingness to listen, will bring something more to the board. Having volunteered throughout the district, and like I said, and throughout Jefferson County, I can pull from resources there that can help. I've talked to many, many different people. I know school board members in different districts. I know teachers in different parts of the country. I know a former administrator that lives in Hawaii who's now a state rep for Hawaii. I pulled from her, asked her questions. I think also, like I said, if you email me, if you contact me, I'll try to help you out as best as I can. Obviously, as a board member, your hands are tied because you can't really divulge to certain things, but I will point you in the right direction to whom you need to go. Also, 4 days after the election is my birthday, so I'd appreciate a nice birthday gift on it if you elect me.
Ms. Ponzer?
So I want to thank you all for the opportunity to meet and answer your questions this evening. I've been a proud supporter of the Fox C6 community and have lived in the Jefferson County area my entire life. I understand the level of commitment needed from our school board members, and I feel I can help to challenge the status quo and push for positive changes. My personal and professional experience have positioned me well for this role. I am passionate about education and want our children to have the best education there is to offer. I am committed to this work and want nothing more than to see our children grow as a caring citizen and thrive both academically and socially.
Mr. Lamborn?
All right, well, I'm definitely encouraged to see the dedicated volunteers like Jim called you all for being here. But my goal, I will bring a conservative perspective and approach to the board and bring a solution-minded business background to the board as well. My goals are to balance the budget without impacting the quality of the education, retain a new superintendent for the long term, improve facilities and plan for capital improvements, value the dedicated teachers and staff, make them feel important, promote a quality but never anti-American curriculum, and accomplish these with the involvement of all stakeholders, especially the teachers, parents, and students, and also the administrators and taxpayers, of course, who kind of make it all happen. I am impressed with the commitment and dedication of the teachers that I've met. Teachers I've met here have just been absolutely awesome, dedicated people who really do care about the kids. And I just can't, and just restore trust within the community by letting them know that they can be heard before decisions are made. I think that's very important for the board to be transparent and listen to what anyone has to say before major decisions are made. Thank you.
Mr. Lintner?
At the age of 37 today, actually, I believe I'm the youngest member running for the board. My mom used to always say about me when I was younger that I was more like 13 going on 30. So I guess by that metric, I should be applying for retirement soon. Some may look at my age as an indication of inexperience. Sometimes I think there's great wisdom found in ignorance, quite simply because you're not afraid to ask the seemingly obvious questions and make bold moves. I like to illustrate this by a story. My place of business I work now, I think it was the first year I was there, and it's a small company, but a lot of the time the office staff were meeting together and always going off into meetings, and I was always curious what these meetings were about. Well, one day they actually called me in to get a fresh outlook of what was going on. And I was pretty shocked to hear that the question was, as they're all sitting around talking about this, what do you think that we can do to be more productive? The answer was pretty obvious to me, and so I said it. I said, well, it seems to me that we could be more productive by actually sitting at our stations and doing work instead of sitting around talking about how we could do more work or get more work done. With that, the meeting adjourned, and I had probably at least 3 individuals coming to me after the fact, thanking me for finally saying what was on the tip of their tongue for X knows how many years. I'm not afraid to ask the questions. I'm not afraid to poke and prod. I think that that's crucial that we do that now. Part of why I'm getting into this is because anything worth doing or worthwhile has never been easy to do. And this is not easy. I don't choose to do what's easy. I could sit back and hope that everything pans out just fine with the district. But I care. I'm investing a lot of my own personal finances into this. I'm volunteering my time, as many of you do. We are the heroes and leaders of the district because we're willing to get involved.
Time.
I'd appreciate your vote April 6th for Travis Lintner. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks parents and community members and candidates. I hope this was, Stacy and I really hope that you learned something, that you're able to take this back with you and and make a vote that feels good to you for what's best for our district. So April 6th, please get out and vote. If you guys want to meet and greet now, we still have time here, so you're able to meet with the candidates. If you're able to